Question from Senator Johnson for the President's Counsel. If House managers were certain it would take months to litigate a subpoena for John Bolton, why shouldn't the Senate assume lengthy litigation and make the same decision as the House made, reject a subpoena for John Bolton?
Mr. Chief Justice, members of the Senate, I think that's precisely the point. And the fact is that if, in fact, we are to go down that road of a witness or witnesses that had national, in the case of Ambassador Bolton, high-ranking NSA. This is an individual that's giving the president advice at the highest level. The Supreme Court's been very consistent on that. That's where privileges are at their highest level. The presumed privilege, actually, is what the Supreme Court has said. And in a situation like this, I think we're going down a road, if the Senate goes this road, of a lengthy proceeding with a lot more witnesses. And then I want to ask this question and just plant it as a thought. Is that going to be the new norm for impeachment? You put an impeachment together in a couple of weeks. We don't like what the president did. We get it through in a 2-day proceeding in front of the Judiciary Committee. We wrap it up and we send it up here and say, now go figure it out. Because that's what this is really becoming. That's what this actually is. So I think if we're looking at the institutional interests that are at stake here, this is a very dangerous precedent. Because what they're doing, what they're saying is basically, well, we have enough to prove our case. That's what Manager Schiff says, but not really. So we really need more evidence, not because we need it, because we want it. But we didn't want it bad enough when we were in the House, so we didn't get it. So now you issue the subpoena, and then let's duke it out in court and see what happens. It sounds like to me that this is, they're acting like this is some municipal traffic court proceeding. I remind everybody that we're talking about, under their articles of impeachment, they are requesting the removal of the President of the United States. So, they're already saying in the media that there are ongoing investigation. They're going to continue to investigate. So are we going to be doing this every 3 weeks? Every month except in the summer? There's an election months away. The people should have a right to vote. My colleague, Pat Cipollone, the White House counsel, said that. So when I look at all of this, whether it's the late need of witnesses after you said you proved your case, if it's how do privileges apply or not apply, Senator Schumer said we get anybody we want, we'd be here for a very, very long time. And that's not good for the United States.
I think we can all see what's going on here. And that is, if the House wants to call witnesses, if you want to hear from a single witness, if you want to hear what John Bolton has to say, we are going to make this endless. We, the president's lawyers, are going to make this endless. We promise you. We're going to want Adam Schiff to testify. We're going to want Joe Biden to testify. We're going to want Hunter Biden. We're going to want the whistleblower. We're going to want everyone in the world. If you dare, if you have the unmitigated temerity to want witnesses in a trial, we will make you pay for it with endless delay. The Senate will never be able to go back to its business. That's their argument. How dare the House assume there will be witnesses in a trial? Shouldn't the House have known when they undertook its investigation that the Senate was never going to allow witnesses? That this would be the first impeachment trial in the history of the Republic with no witnesses? So Mr. Sekulow wants me to testify. I'd like Mr. Sekulow to testify about his contacts with Mr. Parnas or Mr. Cipollone about the efforts to implement the president's fight on all subpoenas. I'd like to ask questions of the president and put him under oath. But we're not here to indulge in fantasy or distraction. We're here to talk about people with pertinent and probative evidence. And you know something? I trust the man behind me, sitting way up, who I can't see right now. But I trust him to make decisions about whether a witness is material or not, whether it's appropriate to out a whistleblower or not, whether a particular passage in a document is privileged or not. It's not going to take months of litigation, although that's what the President's counsel is threatening. They're doing the same thing to the Senate they did to the House, which is you try to investigate the president, you try to try the president, we will tie you and your entire chamber up in knots for weeks and months. And you know something? They will if you let them. You don't have to let them. You can subpoena John Bolton. You can allow the Chief Justice to make a determination in camera whether something is relevant, whether it deals with Ukraine or Venezuela, whether it's privileged or it isn't, whether it's the privilege is being misapplied to hide criminality or wrongdoing. We don't have to go up and down the courts. We've got a perfectly good Chief Justice sitting right behind me who can make these decisions in real time. So don't be thrown off by this claim, oh, if you even think about it, we are going to make you pay with delays like you've never seen. We're going to call witnesses that will turn this into a circus. It shouldn't be a circus. It should be a fair trial. You can't have a fair trial without witnesses. I think when I was asked that question before, I answered in the affirmative when it meant in the negative. You can't have a fair trial without witnesses. And you shouldn't presume that when a House impeaches, the Senate trials from now on will be witness-free, will be evidence-free. That's not what the founders intended. If it was, they would have made you the Court of Appeals, but they didn't. They made you the triers of fact. They expected you to hear from witnesses. They expected you to evaluate their credibility. Don't take my word for it about John Bolton. Look, I'm no fan of John Bolton, although I like him a little more than I used to. But you should hear from him. You should want to. Don't take General Kelly's view for it. Make up your own mind, whether you believe him or Mick Mulvaney, whether you believe John Bolton or the president. Make up your own mind. Yes, we proved our case, counsel. We proved it overwhelmingly. But you chose to contest the fact that the president withheld military aid to coerce an ally. You chose to contest it. You chose to make John Bolton's testimony relevant, pertinent. If you had stipulated the president did as he is charged, then you might make the argument that you're making here. But you haven't. You've contested it. And now you want to say, but the Senate shall not hear from this witness. That's not a fair trial. It's not even the appearance of fairness. You can't have a fair trial without basic fairness.